So I'm here to tell you that one way to support, of course, is to subscribe and to donate. Rebecca will drop the links into the chat where you can do that. You can purchase chaplet subscriptions, full subscriptions, or you can just send us a no strings attached donation. Although today you might want to hold off and see if there's an artwork that you'd like to purchase for that same amount of money. But those are always options for helping us out. Because what we do is really unique, I've come to view as in my 4 years at the Belladonna studio. We're actually non-hierarchical and like actually pretty anti-capitalist, which actually makes operating in the current situation complex, but also gives kind of exciting opportunities for mapping out different ways of doing things that don't pile on to the rest of misery of the otherwise capitalist ecosystem. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily, who's going to talk to you a bit about how you can purchase artworks today. And I'm also going to drop into the chat the catalog, which is where you can review them and see what it is that you might want to buy. Thanks, everyone. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you for everything that you do to keep Belladonna running and active and engaged. We're just so grateful for you. So today we are going to do, we're not doing an auction, so we're selling art like live on a first come first serve basis. You might not know right away if you got the art piece that you really want, but that's kind of what makes it so exciting. So I am going to paste in the chat the very simple way that you can purchase art or prints. We have a lot of really amazing work and lots of different mediums at lots of different price ranges available today. So you're just going to send an email to belladonnaseries@gmail.com, including the number assigned to the work that you want. Each work in the catalog has a number, and we're going to follow up with the first person to email us after the event. If payment isn't received in 24 hours, no worries, but we're going to move on to the next person. So all the emails will be time stamped. And so it's kind of wait and see situation. So open your email inboxes and get ready to send us a quick email with work that you're interested in. And I'll be showing it in between the readings. I'll be showing the catalog, but James has also put the beautifully designed catalog in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM. And now I think I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer to get things started.
Yay. Okay. Thank you, Emily. And Emily and James have been so wonderful in collaborating on this event. So thanks for all your help. So we're going to begin. We have a really packed schedule, as I said. Again, please make sure you're muted. I'm going to read all the bios of the first set of readers together. So that's going to happen. The first set will be Rachel Levitsky, Sawako Nakayasu, and Waldman, and Asiya Wadud. So let me just read the bios.
This is a decision over I'm sure
Rachel Levitsky is a poet who writes prose, who is often between things, and is right now teaching herself how to paint with water. Very cool. Sawako Nakayasu is the author of Some Girls Walk into the Country. They are from Wave Books 2020, and Say translation is Art Ugly Duckling Press 2020. Her forthcoming books are Pink Waves, Omnidon, and Settle Her, Solid Objects. Anne Waldman, you might have heard of her, is the author most recently of Sanctuary, Spite and Dival 2020, Trickster, Feminism, Penguin, Goslings to Prophecy, a sonnet sequence with Emma Gomez Loon Press 2021, forthcoming New Weathers anthology, Nightboat, Bard Kinetic Coffee House, both in 2020. The album Siamiki that came out in 2020, it's amazing, with Levi Gorvey Gallery and Fast Speaking Music. And Asiya Wadud, is a writer most recently of No Knowledge is Complete Until It Passes Through My Body. And her recent writing appears in E-Flux Journal, Bomb Magazine, and elsewhere. She lives in Brooklyn, New York, where she teaches poetry at St. Anne's School and Columbia University. Please welcome the original visionary behind Belladonna, Rachel Levitsky.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. So wow, Jen, Emily, James, what you have done, and everybody that's here, love you all. So I'm going to have do 3 quick things in my 5 minutes. I'm going to make a plug. I'm going to make another plug, and then I'm going to read a couple poems.
Oh, sure.
So once upon a time, Krystal was there, Krystal Languell, who's in the room, who really put Belladonna on the map in the way that it is right now with her many years of labor, from 2009 to 2017 or something like this. She'll correct me when it's her turn. And I were at I think it was the Emerging Communities conference in Santa Cruz when Juliana Spar said that Belladonna is like a pot of whales. And I'm just going to let it sit. You enjoy that for the future. Actually, I've sat with it since then. I really love it, in part because of how much of an organism Belladonna is and kind of how that works with our time and how we move. So my line for fundraising for Belladonna lately has been that, like femmes, and I'm not saying Belladonna is femme, and I'm not saying it's not femme, but like femmes, we make it look easy. Or in this case, Jennifer and Emily and James are making it look easy. And it is love, and it's often really fun and brilliant and amazing, but it's not easy. And in fact, sometimes it's rather abject. Burnout, lack of salary for workers who hold key positions, where there's some sort of like half volunteer and half paid mishmash. And we want to do better, and we've tried. And there is money out there. Maybe you don't have it, but maybe someone you know does. And we ask you to be generous in the way of benefactor or send one our way. We want to support this organism into the future. It's messy and organic and life-giving, and I think it's necessary. Someone who's been incredibly supportive, and I'm excited to present it. It has just so happens that I'm caretaking this object in my cottage where I am in Woodstock, is Tanya Mossadegh, whose Mount Damavand is going to be in the beautiful catalog, has written something about the work that I think will be really interesting for you. This process that Tanya works with is reverse glass painting. It's over oil linen on board. A single glass layer overlays a painting on linen. In this piece, the textures accumulate in different variations, the figure in the foreground complemented by the softer dappled whites of the image behind it. The piece hints toward humans' relationship with the natural landscape, the melding between them that occurs. This piece uses both Persian and Western techniques of vers églomisé to fashion narratives with contemporary resonance. This work also, this technique comes to Iran via the Silk Road around the 17th century. Safavids embraced it, the Zand dynasty sustained it, but the method prevailed during the Qajar era, 1789 to 1925. During this period, not only did Iranian paintings change as a result of European influence, but also Iran encountered political upheavals, constitutional revolution, women criticizing the social and political state of the nation, Iran getting partitioned by foreign forces, etc. Tanya is using the skills she learned there to process ecological, political, and social concerns. And oh, beautiful. It's a beautiful representation. So finally, when I was thinking about what to read today, I was thinking about all the collective work that Belladonna does, but also that it has allowed me to do, and also that I do. And that is really how I think of my oeuvre very much as being in relation. And I was thinking about these collaborations that Tisa Bryant and I did about Akilah Oliver's work that are both in How To and Bombay Gin. And Akilah Oliver, who, please, if you don't know her work, check it out. We have a book of hers in Belladonna, but also her work was just republished by Nightboat, the She Said Dialogues. And she is very much center to who we are, how we think, and how we be as a group. And also I've been working on this against travel work that is alongside the poet and artist Suzanne Goldenberg. But the most recent thing in my hand, and something that I'm very excited about, is Sarah Riggs' The Nerve Epistle, just published out of Roof. And it's a book full of letter poem collaborations. And so I'll end my time here with a reading from the book. It's a poem that Sarah wrote to me, and then I'm honored that she published the poem that I wrote in response to her letter poem to me. Mid-August. Rachel, please call now. Generative, conversation, itch, obedient, a tale of a cucumber peppered, sail of laughter caught, fervent impulses on trial, remainder of time, tumult, supremacist shore of extreme left hour jumped into right, quizzical, determined, topical, mingled, rind, softened and quick, thoroughly zipped into relay, consensual, meeting, repeat, quick into leaf, wax of lane, long, Bannon is out, weather pushing sides, kangaroos ready and eating, twist of the plastic out, fierce of the time second, front of film down, sail of skin, mixed weight of time losing, freeze of ring hole, top of cue trained, quick of thing turbid, sure of wet idea, body of color red, twirl of cloud lined, pace of the bracelet broken. I wore a bracelet for you, Sarah. And the response. Reply, April 30, 2021. Dear Sarah, yes, to coup, to many coups, nay, may a joyous spot find you, Sarah. I believe in souls, in you, fate or person, correct or incorrect, notion, karma, that we come in with it, coup, this Leviathan upon which today I harm, insane, coup, floated metal, a forever cup for water or whatsoever, emptiness, and below over to the left, city double, 2 Manhattans, please, barreling waste from, they say, way before we knew. How do we know now? How to teach these, our news tellers, telling us how, why, slather byproducts, how, why, name, tell, scratch and itch for escape, tell our children they aren't, their things aren't quite right. Thank you. Cheers.
Sawako Nakayasu.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that beautiful reading, Rachel, and thanks to everyone who is here today and for organizing. It's such an honor to be reading for Belladonna, which I have been a fan of for many, many years. I've had the good luck of interacting with and working with and making things with Belladonna in so many different ways, sometimes in the form of gatherings, formal and informal, sometimes books, chaplets to full-blown books, sometimes internationally. It's really such an amazing organization, and wonderful to see it, how it's grown and continues to into the future. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here in my car, as you can tell. Sorry, it's a little bit funny looking in my background, but I'm going to read one poem, a longish poem or a shortish story called Board Game. Who is ready to begin this round? Only girl I, who was lucky enough to have her scab fall off just this morning. It's still a little soft, but anyway, she is the one who gets to go first. Gets to go first. An elbow scab is not as big as a knee scab, but is good enough to get her firmly on the board. Until the others arrive, she has free rein on this board of dead blood. And by the time she leaves it, her detached scab will have hardened quite nicely. Girls A through J, with the exception of girl I, all sit Taiso style around the perimeter of the board. The game moves ahead without them, as each girl waits for her scab to fall off so that she might have a piece with which to play. There's a palpable friction in the air between those who bled specifically for this purpose and those whose injuries were natural causes. Also, for those whose scabs are soon to fall off, and those whose wounds are so fresh that they are bound to be here for a long time. They are the ones who have brought their own food, sleeping bags, and sanitary products, lest they lose their spot or be caught elsewhere at the fateful moment when the scab comes off. There are always maybe one or two girls who have had their wounds professionally inflicted, so as to produce the largest scabs that will fall off in the briefest amount of time. Although these practices are universally frowned upon, such participants are too busy staring at their attenuated injuries to take any heed or reflect upon their misdeeds. Sometimes there is a lull in the activity, and an old, gentle man arrives quietly with the breeze. He carries an old-fashioned epidermis knife and asks his eyes if anyone would like some assistance. He hums a tune. He sounds like an ice cream truck. It sounds familiar. Over time, most of the girls make it onto the board, though by the time girl E finally makes her way there, girl I and girl A are already on their second scabs. Girl B explains exactly how things work around here to girl E. Whenever a girl manages to get a scab all the way to the goal, it is a small win. The scab piece is removed from the board and thrown into a nearby pool, in fact, right next to the site of the board game. This game has been going on for quite a number of years, and the pool is filling up with the used, dead scabs of girls. Over time, each girl will get her turn to swim in the pool of discarded scabs. According to legend, the experience is quite various. Some find themselves crying at the collected sufferings of girls, while others find it liberating to recall all that they have been through as they reach the other side. Those with sensitive skin feel pricked by the jagged edges of the hard, dry scabs, whereas others find it easy enough to breaststroke their way through it all, as that is the recommended stroke for girls swimming through a pool of scabs. Thank you.
Amazing.
Incredible.
And Waldman. You need to unmute, Anne.
Yes, thank you, Emily and Jennifer and James and so many out there that haven't seen in a long time. So great to see Lynn and Ella and Ann Tardos and Gazal and so on. Anyway, great day. Thank you, Belladonna, all these years. And it was so lovely when Rachel graduated from Naropa, getting her degree with the Kerouac School. That's what she did. She went out and founded Belladonna. So I'm going to read from a section of a longer poem called Voices, Daughter of a Heart Yet to be Born. It's my book of Fell, inspired by Blake's incredible 6-page epic. And Fell is the unborn who, has the conversations with the cloud of clay and the lily and the worm, and is shown her own death plot and decides she doesn't want to be born and runs screaming back to the Vales of Har, the Vales of Harmony, where she dances with her virgin sisters. So I decided to bring Fell into the world of experience. It's sort of the second part of the poem, Solace. Delivered to the condemned hospital after dark, solace, undercover medical assignments. I've described my fraught cell, her wayward eyes, her soft locks that morph sometimes into Medusa coils, her place in herbarium, scriptorium, her echolocation, what she means to those slugging it out below, wounded darlings, her minuscule desires, her conversations with elementals, her question as if from a chrysalis, lack of streetwise machinations, unbeknownst quivering gaze as if she can't be straight in eye. Heart untested, fear of reprisal, but tests me and is the maiden of my fascination. Prelingual, she rises in a swerve away from reality, a step away, jail cell. Who to catch up? She exists as untested instance of conscious immortality. How can it be said she was born on such and such date in the year of, or that she departed late and funeral rites followed, obsequious clips in motion? A soul to rise. She overlords us. Now she stoops, she bends, she touches the earth, earth her grave site. Maw opening is eternal witness, our own dysfunction. Labors for all of it, perpetuum mobile. Command of language forgotten, of what she does no one even understands. Poor Thel, her wisdom in abeyance, her sisters languish in waiting to gamble in restorative time, the proverbial garden, now hospital boneyard, reduced to a realm of rest and dementia, regression to childlike state, chasing birds and singing in a great cage. Is that what lies in wait on the other side of this consciousness, troubled, transient, yet excruciating world of experience, not for everyone? How does one not weep in dementia? Have inkling. Perhaps her mind is gone. In the movie version, the old lady resolves the assisted living mystery. Objects materialize as if by magic. She sits calmly in her wheelchair at a table, moving plastic alphabet pieces around as if upon an Ouija board. She mumbles her questions. Occasionally she starts up, aha, aha, voice straining. Imago body part in the doctor's hand. Her brain, her breast taken. Once again, aha, do not enter here. Unrecognizable for the beauty she once was, undone, jilted. One might concentrate on, in, around, medicated solace. How to reel, solace is around one, available, trying to get in, familiar incubation of control, of retreat, wherein you plot your next move. Hospital as collaboration, as echo, as retirement, as dysfunction. When the lights go off, support systems down. Flood, hurricane, earthquake, tsunami, plague, sleuth fabrications and dark encounters of murderous intent. Dreams often come inside, include inside, then leave off to go out, doze off, then out, then resume out. A different technology, private, claustrophobic culture, divergent, variants altered. You insist, get out, outside. You might be private eye, gone. Public eyes, ears, nose, mind. Nurse work late, motherly work late, sisterly. When death strikes brotherly, send flowers, work overtime. Crucial decisions, who allow indoor, how screen from public rubric outside. Seedy outside, not cross this threshold. Out, please, out, out, outside this cell. May get on a plan to pursue a lead. Public, when you need the sororal advice and screening, verite, injections. I was once a man, but you were lucky to have her. I am a woman now, right there to make or take a call. Peripheral allotments, preparing little medicine bags with hair and nails, frequent hetero deciding rendezvous, impure, try on a special few, stains of sweat and intellectual labor, transplant, stem cell machination, check the computer, you know the drill, missing persons, too, loco, locator, need your help. Find a cis woman in Havana, in Alexandria, in old Cairo, find an implant, find a hormone, obviate, try to get the medicine right, worn down, get right, old nurse, heard the voices sound awry in air conditioning, as once was awry in time warp, different when one lived in Wall Street with girdle and nylons, types on a divergent machine. AC vocabulary fascinates the protagonist, different person now sits down in protest, wish I could regress. Who languishes in hospital, old age, sickness, death. Hear the angels in the hum. Test out their little voices, computer symbiosis, voices, daughters, pray, not go mad. and the 12 were migrants, and the migrants were hunted and went fleeing, always in motion. Migratory ones hunted perpetually in motion. Migrations of exiled ones moving, hunted saintly inmates from veils of Har. Anodyne stumbled, her pouch of herbal remedies round her neck. Tarifa entered a stream of sexual awakening. How could that be? Abromatar kept from turning rusty in an ageless night. Teke hid inside the carburetors of many things. Satella told her story through gestures. She was unaligned but sad. Hibiscus shrunk down, motionless chrysalis, waiting her time would come. Elatea traveled further from the noise, sounds a trail. Nidian was a poet and would scribe these struggles. Louianne took her wares from town to town, disguised in Chador. Lefkanda kept counsel and in revolt, underground with burrowing animals. Yiwa Yaz, arrows went stoic, shot from her brow and shot from her brow. Hati was master of the very caves they all sought refuge in. It would always come down to refuge, a sexuality, and Thel went looking through the wands, the wards, her lost sisters with her wands through the wards, gone mad, lost sisters trapped on the edge of resistance. Morning. The Bohemian hospital, rugged materials, and exclusive angle design that improves operation and durability, even in the harshest environments. Ductwork, damper, upflow, bacteria circulates, condom. The circumpolar stars neither rise nor set. A line of nodes will guide you. Stern in the day, aft in the day, heel of the day, terminus, extremity, and wake of the day, back of the day, hind day, final day, close the day, erstwhile. Time was a rainbow noticed and followed it down. Still alive, little people reside there at the end, other side of the medieval town in white gowns. Perhaps they whisper, laughing at my quest. What claim would be sealed? A reconstitutional yearning would be sealed, seraphim in thou.
Wow. Whew. Thank you, Anne. Wow, our last reader for this section is Asiya Wadud.
Wow, yeah, all I can do is just continue the wow. Okay. It's so, I feel, I don't even know what to say, but it's so nice to be here with all of you today, and to Jennifer and to Emily and to James and to everyone who made today happen. Thank you. And I wanted to read some poems from this book. It's called Day Pulls Down the Sky, Filament and Gold Leaf, and it's written in collaboration with the dancer and choreographer and writer Okuyo Pakwasili. And I wanted to just share a couple of pieces from it. The music that we were listening to in the very beginning was from Okui, and the poems that I wrote in this collection are poems that were written while listening to the songs from the album that we were listening to from Okui. So they're written in conversation with Okui's songs. A Fibonacci builds around us. We start off with the one, incremental guesswork, all the voids one by one, all constituent fibrous parts, all around us, all around us. A Fibonacci builds in a chorus as filament, all the numbers building in accordance, every single smaller nimber, requisite scaffolding. A Fibonacci builds in a chorus as filament, all convergence fervent in the thickets, all the convergence fervent, we see them. Dust clouds each among us, who has never seen this? What brews inside the structure, who has never asked them? What brews inside the structure, who has never heard the noise? Shrouded later in what it contains, dust clouds among us. And what brews between the structures, that might be our own secret. We converge and save space for filament, to pass through and see us, to pass through and name the vacuum. At the start and the finish, it remains attenuated. A Fibonacci builds in a chorus, then crescendo. Endurance is letting the horse rest when it needs to. A testament to all our brokenness is everyone fervent among us, is how we break bread when we have it. It's split and equally among us. Dust clouds each among us, who has never seen thus? What brews inside the structure, who has never asked them? Double this to build the helix, what would that do? What is among us? Why you ask us? Watch it long enough, and it is apparent. Opacity or distance, connective tissue, thin strip. Dust brews and then settles, no space was neutral. The space now has a witness, who will witness the dispersal, attenuation, or the accumulation. All the congregants bear witness. Observant creatures bear witness. The nocturnes see us. The only fawn bears witness. It told us it would come as witness, feasting on honeydew, and when it's full, it bears witness to the space, to accumulation, then dispersal, to anything that needs a witness. The fawn said he'd do this. But first he had to touch the thickets to see why everyone was fervent. The haptic is fawn knowledge. Now he understood the bushes. A mathematics in its precision, a quiet premonition governs us as the structure looks at us. We act as blueprint, stairs in the far corner, doors that act as windows, windows that structure us to look past containment. I left the window cracked. I did this on purpose. Anything could get out. Anything could come in. Nothing was ever neutral. This is something we all know. All that is magnetic at the perimeter. All mathematics a divining, and then the structure does its business. Usually it's an ascension, or if not, sutures, to build a latitude, a throughway, to build a road that bleeds out, to build a road that bleeds out. The Fibonacci builds in a chorus, disperse, marvel at the thread's logic. Did you ever see an object reach like this in a chorus? Did you ever see such enclosed logic? The chorus now becomes the throughway. That's when the voices do it justice. Look at the long line of all its parts. We laid them out side by side. That was to take stock of them and thread them. Look at all the parts, quiet accretion. We laid them out side by side. That was because it was stabilizing, to know their governing structures. From the thickets, the cormorants now need just one shroud, everyone at rest, everything resplendent. Look at the sight line, how it coasts so gently. A filament in gold leaf, a filament in salt preserved, a filament and attenuation. A Fibonacci built from a chorus, we are resting on our backs. All the small objects choral, magnifying their voices fervent, rock hewn in a requirement. All the minor objects needed for the next breath. Thank you.
Thank you, Asiya. Amazing.
Amazing reading, Asiya. Thank you so much. Is it okay if I'm going to show you all some art? If you'll just bear with me while I share my screen. We can look at some art. Let me just, okay, can people see this? Okay. Thank you all for those brilliant readings. I just feel so charged. These first few pieces, there are 5 available. So Diane De Prima, beloved poet who sadly passed away this past year. We have some incredible signed broadsides from her. And maybe I'll just go ahead and read this poem, her poem, Alchemical Signals. For instance, the aurora borealis, lightning, a beached whale, the dream you didn't have, or a slip of the tongue. These are signs. Everyone else is telling stories. Signs can't be told, though you can learn to read them if you're lucky enough to catch one going by, keep it to yourself. So such an incredible poem, broadside to have. And we have 5 of these available. So if you'd like one of these, send us an email. They're $150. And the first come, first served. Again, you're emailing belladonnaseries@gmail.com. We also have multiple of this amazing piece by Belladonna supporter, the artist Mimi Gross. These are 9 by 12 print stencil pieces done in 2019 specifically for Belladonna. This is the Belladonna flower, the Belladonna plant, a deadly nightshade. And we have 3 available for a donation of $200. So send us an email if that's something that you would be interested in. Moving along. Number 3, we have a collage by the incredible artist Christine San Hao. And Christine's collages are everywhere. They're on all sorts of book covers. Krystal Languell, who's going to be reading in a little bit, has some Christine Hao collages on some of the covers of her books. And they are just an incredible poet and visual artist with a new book out from After Hours. And this collage is called Pillow Party. It's 6 inches by 8 inches. It was done in 2020. I love the cheekiness of the title. And this is available for $150. It's number 3. So if you're interested in that, please email us and let us know. Moving along. And James has put the catalog in the chat. Oh, we have this great piece by Sarah Riggs, Missives to Attell, number 3. It's ink, pencil on paper, 11 by 14, done just last year in 2021 for $400. Such an amazing, I love the spider here. Rachel Levitsky taught me to revere spiders, that they're weavers, that they're like poets. Rachel has a tattoo of a spider. I don't think she'll mind me saying that. I have a spider right now in my house that I'm kind of keeping alive and not disturbing, watching its weaving and its movement. This is an incredible piece. It is number 4 by the wonderful friend to Belladonna, Sarah Riggs. $400. Our final piece for this round is by the Belladonna author and visual artist Simone Carney, who has a sculpture show opening in a couple of weeks, actually. And Simone, we published her debut book of poetry this year, Days. This past year is an incredible book. And so these are some text and image pieces from Simone. There's 2 pieces. The first is a set of 2, and the second is a set of 3. So it's really great if you are wanting to fill a space with some art and have some works that are in dialogue with each other. This first one says, what is a ground? What is the ground? So this is the first of the set of 2. A mountain shot up and love like a stray dog, like an epicenter. That's amazing. So this first set of 2 is for $200. So, and it is number 5. So send us an email if you're interested in that, by Simone Carney. I'm drinking Barry's Irish breakfast tea, which is also Simone's favorite tea. So number 6 is a set of 3, a triptych, we might say, of all text pieces, also by Simone Carney. Number 6, my voices huddle around yours as it floats in the mind like a real oval. I love that little insertion there, like a real oval, the grain I hold in my mouth. My love puckers, my love is a pucker, puckering towards you as a mouth smeared on air. I lost the grain of your voice like a single iridescent aperture open as a lock. That's the third of that triptych. And that is available for $300 from Simone Carney. It is number 6. Send us an email if you're interested. James has also put the catalog in the chat for you if you want to peruse while the readings are happening. Okay, take it away, Jennifer.
All right, that was amazing. Gosh, it was such great art. And yeah, do what you can and try to purchase some. I am drooling over it. The next set of readers is our Samuel Ace, Sarah Riggs, Tanya M Foster, Zooey Tuck, and Julie Patton. And bios are as follows. Samuel Ace is a trans and genderqueer poet and sound artist. He is the author of several books, most recently Our Weather, RC, Black Radish, and Meet Me There, Normal Sex and Home in 3 Days, Don't Wash, Belladonna Germinal Text. Sarah Riggs is a poet and translator who makes films and artworks. Her most recent book, composed of letter poems, is the Nerve Epistle, Roof Books 2021. Tanya M Foster is the eldest daughter of Barbara and Spencer Foster, both from New Orleans, Louisiana. Tanya is a poet and essayist who holds the George and Judy Marcus Chair in Poetry at San Francisco State University. Zooey Tuck was born in Texas, became a person in California, and now lives in Massachusetts, where she writes poems and teaches classes. She co-curates Belladonna Collaborative's Close Distances reading series and co-edits Hot Pink magazine. And Julie Patton is a primarily chance-inspired composing artist. She is a member of Rock Paper Twister Sisters Trip, featuring Janice Lowe on piano and vocals and guitarist Paul Van Kuren. She doesn't live anywhere in particular. So let's welcome Samuel Ace.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thank you everyone. The artwork is just gorgeous and amazing readers so far. Just want to thank Belladonna and everyone who put this together. The introduction to Meet Me There, which I'm so grateful to have published by Belladonna, is a series of letters between me, Sam, and Linda, also me. Linda was my birth name, and I've been recently taking off from that introduction, doing a lot more writing from it. I also have been doing some sound pieces, and I think I'm going to play for you one of the sound pieces based on that work today. So just bear with me. I need to change the preferences and share my screen. All right, so just 1 second. Dear Sam, I don't have a name. I never had a name. Never had a ground I could stand on. Do you see me standing there in a pink dress, patient but sad? I had a name they gave me, that munching beauty thinking Spanish was a way to carry me through. I wonder who they thought would inhabit that name. It never inhabited me. There was a missing when someone called me, an arrow that went whizzing past my head, not landing, unlanded, like an errant bird heading to Florida, but landing in Michigan, getting caught in the snow. Dear Linda, I also had no idea about what to do for a name. When it came down to it, I chose the easy path. Someone just started calling me Sam, who thought you looked like Sam Spade from your fedora-wearing habit. It was a given, and it stuck. It was like they gave you permission, knighted you. It was easy, right? You retook that birth name, though. I translated from the beginning, thinking you'd be honest for once. In the mornings when our mother was getting us ready for school. But it was a misunderstanding. She rarely did that. It was always Dad. Hello, making breakfast. My name is Linda. Exhausted already from the day. Our mother who stayed in bed, or called out from the bedroom. I'm here to remind you that although the calling missed, I still lived. I still had my wishes. I still played. I also sat happily making up names. Poe. Jimmy Poe. The rivers, the leaves. Dear Linda, for a name in the dirt, in the asphalt, I had no on the side of what to do for a name. In a playground, on the making when it came down to it, I chose the in the way path. I formed letters. Someone just started calling me Sam. Who thought I looked? You looked. I looked. Poe, like Sam Spade. Jimmy Poe. From your fedora wearing habit, was a given, leaves, and it stuck. I looked for a name in like the dirt. They gave you permission. In the asphalt, you. It was easy. On the side of the house, in a playground, in the making of a drawing, in the way I formed letters. But you retook your birth name, dear Sam, when you got sober, thinking you'd be honest for once. Just follow these steps. But it was a misunderstanding, wasn't it? Hello, my name is Linda. Hello, my name is Linda. I lived as Joey from G.I. Joe, or Daniel, our mother's dead fetus, or the music that sounded when I was alone in bed all night, unable to sleep. Was I you then, or was I me? Never knew L that stood for Lou or Lawrence, and I that stood for Isaiah, an N for Ned or Niles, a D that was Daniel or David or Destiny, an A that became Angelo or Adam, the drawings of boys, my inability to hear. My name is Linda. So was Samuel, legally. My great-grandfather, the rabbi's name, I think. James, that very English name, a nod to Jimmy Ace from Monkey Boy. Dear Sam, Jimmy Ace, the monkey boy, walking through the grocery aisles, he was always hanging there in bright packing. I named myself in camouflage, childhood, heavy muscles, a gun on his belt, a rifle in his arms, dark skin, short, curly hair, muscled forearms, pants cinched at the ankle. It was Jimmy Ace, black boots, and that boy from the Sunday comics, that rubbery plastic smell. He was ready to fight. Hair and big, I could feel him in my eyes. He was our friend, our love. I wanted to be his hello, so I named myself. He kept us on the path. He was my beacon. He taught me how to be, how to sit, how to talk, how to walk in the world. I drew him over and over, walking through the grocery aisles. I was always hanging there. It's a wonder that I did not name myself Dondi, in camouflage with heavy muscles. A gun on his belt, a rifle in his arms with dark skin, short, curly hair, muscled forearms, pants cinched at the ankles with big black boots. I can smell him now, that rubbery plastic smell, ready to fight. It was Jimmy Ace, and that boy from the Sunday comics. I could feel him in my crotch as I stared, with his abundant hair and big dark eyes. He was our friend, our love. He was us. He kept us on the path. He was my beacon. He taught me how to be, how to sit, how to talk, how to walk in the world. I could feel him in my crotch as I stared. I wanted to be him, so I named myself Joe. It's a wonder that I did not name myself Dondi. No, it was Sam. I took the easy path. It was decided for me, a faster decision than most. Me, Joe, and Dondi, we were the same. My name's at night. My name is Linda. You got that. I looked for it. It was sweet, sexual. And Joe was captured by a band of warriors
women who kept him in a basement dungeon and took him out only to torture him with whips, I think. My name tied up in the sex, my name understood in the middle of the day. I wanted to lie in bed with him. And Dondi, he too was another side of me. The deep, knowing eyes, the upturned nose, solving problems and dilemmas, always taking the moral high ground. But I could not be named Dondi. What was a name like that? Even Don did not suit me, but Peter did, or James, or Sam. My name is Linda. A fair compromise, really. Every day I would fake sign books with my new name, practice signatures, come up with last names too, then destroy the evidence.
Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Sam. Gorgeous. Next, we have Sarah Riggs.
Thanks for the intimacy of this collective. I feel it's one of the most important things that can be created and continuously regenerated. And I want to share a piece that I've been writing to Etel Adnan since her passing, November 14th, 2021. There were 1,000 things I wanted to tell you, dear Etel. How the sun was sparkling on the river, how we were on a boat together, whispering about the heavens fallen. I hadn't realized you were part of the heavens, and yet, of course, you are. It is cold in my soul, and I don't know how to light it. You were always making fires. How to step through when I whisk my finger through the candle flame and the girls cringe. What time was it? How were we supposed to laugh? How were we supposed to do anything, dear Etel? Could you come back just for a bit and sit there on that chair, the one you loved? We had invited you in. You are there. I remembered what I wanted to ask you, how to stop loving. Meanwhile, I had pressed my hands and cheek to the rock face, could feel the harsh yet solid contours. What was it you were dreaming just now? I was detained by life, which had caught me in its breath. There are a few phone calls for you coming in. I picked up one and began to answer. My answers for you are full with melancholy and your joy. We will get a passage to Delphi and visit you there. Visit your voices, the ones you left behind for us. What is Simone sculpting this morning? The figures have things to tell us, not melancholy, because so fierce. It can't go on, your life, to be sure, and yet you knew all along that it would, in myriad ways, a kind of technicolor dream. People need color, you said, and me walking the spiral of the Guggenheim, ghostly the space after your passing. And there are the tapestries, so palpable, the opulent pink flowers on your casket cascading over the edges, because Simone said you loved pink. I knew you loved a lot of colors. I didn't know especially pink. We met in a forest in my dream last night, and you were walking toward the river. Perhaps it is Yosemite, with your sense of awe, emotional power, and as Eleni described it, delight. You knew the world is imploding, and yet your expansiveness goes on. It's the next day, and I'm wondering how you are doing, wherever you are. For years, what I missed the most about Paris was you, but I knew where you were. Now I am not sure. You have become a mountain, one, or possibly, as Amiel said, a whole mountain range. You have become the rock of Mount Tamalpais, the earth under the trees. I guess it's too much to say you have become the sky. You are not the sky. You are the sky. The ashes floating and mixing with the rain you have become. You have become becoming. Dear Etal, I miss you. I know your life was as full as anyone's could be, and that death is part of life. I know. And yet, how could I know what this would feel like? How could I know? The pink flowers cascading over your casket, your step in the street, your ordering escargot, our talking over words by a port restaurant in Erquy. You're holding me close in your words, the last time we talked. The last time? So much like the first time, like every time, like time, just time, like being in time, time.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for bringing Etal here with us. Next, we have Tanya M Foster.
Hi. That was beautiful, Sarah. And Sam, that was haunting and devastating. And it's been amazing listening to all of you. Belladonna, much love. Swarm of Bees happened because of the kind of the force of Rachel's will, and the collective of Belladonna. That I am a reluctant poet is no secret. What I think I realize is that I believe in poetry, just not all poetry. And I believe in the kind of possibility of poetry, the possible ways of being. And so thank you, Belladonna, the Belladonna crew, for inviting me, even as I wasn't sure that I wanted to hang out in that club. So I'll read two poems. One is Prologues Eden. They're both from a manuscript called The History of the Bitch. Prologues Eden. They garden the grow in your girly giddy up. Girl, get up in here. Girl, you crazy. Girl, God don't like ugly. That's the girl right there. That's the one. These here are the limbs and lambs and iams of languish whinnying along the streeted walls of yes, no, of he knows this and that and there because of why, of what would be if we our waistlines thinned a bit, if we are wanting trimmed to thee suit. What might be, what could be, what might have been, what could have been. Will something you simple tell flower the walls the women walk, as whales they thought slip through the well-capped teeth they grind in sleep? In sleep, they garden the gotcha, garden the give and give and give until you're the fish gutted along salty shorelines, insured against inevitables. Instead of fish, the shark the waters overflowing. Sea dogs, dog or man, lavish slaving ships, sniffing blood, sniffing bodies bloodied on waves. Wash our epidemics of anguish, nothing new. Be foul, wash over me, wash me down, drown, down, row, own ow. The second one is testimonial histories. 1. For a time in some places, only men could testify. Consider the chronic courtly testiliers, testify rooted with testes, testicle, routed power, tongue tied to crouch, talk of truth as biology. Biblical Abraham has his servant swear a solid, put your hand or head depending under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth. Biblical Israel, now if I have found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh and deal kindly and truly with me. Oaths by issue. Vocal oceans will usher each us, legislate each line, each lineage. 2. Banker Stanley, husband of Rachel, testifies that he and his family have lived on Newton's Mill Street for 20 plus years. Newton's already 339 when Stanley and Rachel moved there. 1,500 miles southwest from there is 3 years old, toddling in a New Orleans shotgun on Melpomene Street. Nola, as such, is 251 years old then. 1969, year of the rooster, when Stanley and Rachel move, begin perhaps a family in that neighborhood of homes, of expansive and expensive empty lawns the eyes yawn across. Luxuriant space in which the looking settles. T in the tight shotgun tiny has begun to collect language. Words roll, rumble in her tender toddler's mouth, ears forming mind. Boisterous for a young one, she is loud when she laughs, when she sings, when she searches her mama, daddy, cousins, grandma's faces, searches for the train her father tucks beneath her grandparents' front room bed for safekeeping in cramped quarters. In dreams, years later, T will recall reaching into that darkness as clearly as she recollects the kitchen stove, the unseemly window fan pulling air through, the narrow back lot, the orange sofa bed, the single bath. She will recall this darkness as tender as a fear she didn't know. 1969 in the Holocene, like T, the Black Panther Party, miles from certain Newton luxuries, 3,085, miles from the Nawlins mouth of the Mississippi, 2,263, is just 3 years old. Oakland's BPP begins to feed daily little ones like T. At 3, they all remap worlds, take in words, recollate sentences meant to contain and constrain them. We remark ourselves in syllabic struts. The languages we speak us into place, into role. Refuse, refuse, roll away the stones, words that hem and haw us in. 3, 1969 in the Holocene, say the FBI director says that without question, the greatest threat to the internal security of the country is the Black Panther Party. Who and what is a nation in this claim? Who, what is citizen? Who does each inhabit, hold? Whose internals are breached by the feeding of children as young as ones living in Southern shotguns? Who are the invasive free radicals ravaging wholeness in the thicket of the nationhood in its hooded surveillance of love expressed by filling hungry mouths? Who dat surveying and saying? Years later, one who's come lately will say as she explains to him what's happened, as she weeps in her Black woman uniform, as he stands in his impatient policing, calm down, stop crying. sharpening as if her tears were insufficient testimony of what had gone down, as if her Blackness were enough to let her swallow that river. Who can believe tears of a Black woman? Who can believe tears while carrying batons and shotguns? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tanya. That's incredible. I just love this new work. Next is Zooey Tuck.
Hi. I'll keep the rambling short just to say that I felt really invited into Belladonna, and it's a space that has let me practice my practice of inviting other people in, and I like that. So this is I'm setting my timer now. This is a piece from my novel in progress called Her Arcane Physic. Text from Emily. Can we meet in the middle before it gets too cold? I need to finish reading her novel. It's not like this one, which was written too hastily, but a real one, grown, or is it built over time with care, taken lovingly through, or rather almost all the way through, the three phases of the great work, the red, the black, and the white. Whereas writing like this rapidly, a little beyond the speed of thought, puts me in the category of the sorcerer's apprentice, who thinks to save a little time by enchanting the instruments of her work only to find herself thwarted by the same automatism that she thought would help her. Writing like this is trying to cheat and make the perfect ashlar by filling up an elevator with cement. Oh, who's that artist? No, not Matthew Barney, although I'm describing a scene from Cremaster 3, but rather the one who makes casts of old flats in London, Rachel Whiteread, like pinching the toe of a sock and turning it inside out. No, not a simple inversion, but a translation of the thickness and weight of an interior space. Sometimes you wonder, sometimes I used to wonder why I couldn't write at home. Sometimes I couldn't breathe there. The air was too heavy with memories. I was moving through water. I looked over at the Madeline Gins reader. The saddest thing is that I've had to use words, and I have done. Pens and paper are cheap, etc. No dance lessons, insufficient chutzpah to find a way to cast a room and turn negative space into positive space. Not positive, of course, you know what I mean, and it was sad. Emily asked me something to the effect of, why are people afraid to be changed by the process of collaboration? With the implicit coda, isn't transformation what we're all after? Was this what I was after with alchemy? Oh, by the way, this novel's about alchemy. Isn't this what I was after with alchemy? For a while, there was a meme in my friendship with Ananda. We would say to each other this phrase that, as far as I could tell, made its way into circulation from Thomas Merton's The Wisdom of the Desert. Why not be totally changed into fire? Which is a delightful, pithy provocation to risk it all, spiritually speaking, but potentially terrifying in its actual application. Fire is dangerous. You might go in intending to burn off impurities, only to have the flames start licking at the load-bearing columns of selfhood. I look outside. My feet are under the cheesecloth, but my knees are out, and I feel a chill from the window. Outside, I see the stalk of a plant with yellow-green leaves curled in sickle shapes, bobbing in the wind. I look inside. Loretta is sitting on her tuffet in front of the space heater. I think again about calcination, applying heat to purify a substance into fine white ash. Is it worth it to shadow box the inner voice that says purify with a lip-curling sneer? To clarify that I don't mean blamelessness, guiltlessness, stainlessness, guilelessness, whiteness, or virginity. What do I mean then? Purgation of error? Submerged in a chemical bath of sufficient potency, my physical aches and spiritual pains will be separated from me and rise to the surface of the bath, where they can be skimmed away like scum from meat in the making. In the great work, this is called dross. Norma kisses me on the forehead before they leave for work. The closer I make this book to life, the more I feel like its lines of prose are spider silk, binding me tight, immobilizing me for whose consumption. And the more the fictional elements get dusted with verisimilitude. Will people mistake my facts for my fiction, my fictions for my facts? Will some of my truths come through? At moments like this, I'm thankful for the revelations of psychoanalysis and surrealism, that my intentions, among other mechanisms of the mind, are not fully transparent to my conscious self. True Maya, bringing me back to Maya Daren's knives and eyes. Any string can become a witch's cradle. That's pattern making, baby. Nella says that I'm a weaver because I like to weave people together, my superpower, but I feel guilty not knowing anything about actual weaving, text and textile, Jen Bervin collaborating with silkworms, or Maria Damon's embroideries, Jean Vaccaro's felt matters, and Indira Allegra dancing with looms. My feeling that every line I write should have a balloon and a brick tied to it, the balloon for the imaginary and the brick to ground it in the real. Instead, the brick is a pocket stone, anxiety instead of practice for ballast. It'll do for heft, but doesn't approach the texture. And that's my 5. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for this amazing reading.
Zoe, thank you. Great. And the last person from this section is Julie Patton. Julie, are you here? Julie. Okay. Sometimes Julie can just appear. So let me, Julie, are you here? Okay, well, you know what? If Julie shows up, and hopefully she will, we'll find a way to squeeze her in. Emily, should I right now pass it on to you for the second art?
Yeah, sure. And then if Julie comes in, we can hear from Julie. And I can't wait to hear from Julie. This has been this is the best reading I've been, I know I'm biased, but this is the best reading I've been to in like many years. I'm so blown away by all of you. So Rachel Levitsky taught me when I was a Belladonna intern that you always pass the hat at a Belladonna event. And that way people can give whatever they have or feel comfortable giving or are in the position to give as part of an event. And so even if you aren't buying art today, or even if you are, please consider supporting Belladonna's efforts by either becoming a member, by purchasing a subscription. They're all different levels to become a member, or by donating. I give a monthly donation to Belladonna. It feels really good. I get this little notification. I give $5 a month. It feels really great. Just to send $5 to Belladonna each month, and you can pick any donation that works for you. So we'll put the links to donate in the chat. And now I want to show you some more amazing artwork. Can everyone see this? So
Julie is here. She's on the phone.
Okay, great. Hey, Julie. Can you hear us? Oh, Tanya, you're raising your hand.
Sorry, I'll put it down. I just raised it to say Julie is here. She said she's on the phone.
Okay, great. So Julie, let me just look for you, Julie. Maybe she's muted. Hold on, let me unmute her. Julie.
I think there's one phone number, which is 216.
Okay,
that's probably her. That's probably her.
Okay, but it's muted. I'm asking to unmute, but I am not able to manually unmute her.
Maybe she can call in again.
I think if she pushes pound.
Oh, star 66. Okay. She thought it was star 21. Okay. I'll tell her.
We love you, Julie. We can't wait to hear your voice.
Someone very helpful said star 6 or star 6 or star 66. Tell me in the chat what it is. Star 6. She's trying. Move on, she says. Okay, keep going, Emily. She'll figure it out. We're gonna get her, and we'd like to listen to.
You can also call one of us. She can call one of us.
Okay, I'll call you. I'll send her your number.
So if she calls me, then I'll put her on.
Okay.
So next we have this amazing print of a photograph by Ian Lewandowski. It's quite large. It's 20 inches by 24 inches, and it's going for $300. Again, that's number 7. If you're interested in it, email belladonnaseries@gmail.com. The next, number 8, is by Rafael Bueno. We have this piece in the studio. It's incredible, kind of mixed media. It's very textured. You can actually kind of see it has a 3-dimensional quality to it. Oil and ink on paper, 9 inches by 12 inches, and done in 2016. And this is going for $400. Again, it's a really incredible textured piece with lots of depth in person. You can kind of almost see it there on the image itself. Number 9, we have an amazing collage by Belladonna author Pamela Sneed. Ooh, Pamela. This is a really incredible piece, and it is framed. So a lot of the times you buy things at an auction, they're not framed, you have to get them framed. This is framed already, so it's ready to hang up on your wall. And that's going for $200. And Julie is calling. Hey, Julie. Hi, I'm going to put you on speaker. Is that okay?
Oh, you ready for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Is
Yes, 1, 2, 3, go. Can people hear Julie?
Hi,
yes.
everybody.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. I'm calling in and I'm facing a wall. I'm facing a wall that has a lot to do with many of you listening, and it is a Belladonna inspired wall, but I'm using that word to mean Belladonna's everywhere, and as a tribute to this day's events and always. What I am looking at is a wall that contains a framed screen I found in the basement in the building I am standing in at this moment. I ripped off the paper because I wanted to find out how these screens were made. On the screen is an image of flowing branches and 2 birds in beautiful blue that I can't erase. This wall of graffiti, once I started writing on it, everything converging, flying all over the place are words. So 2 birds on a branch. Days later, a letter arrives from B.I. of Bergen Street in Brooklyn. Framed in this one were the words adoration of the microscopic. I wish I could show you. This one begins with 1 starting tip at the top of the year. Blessings repeated. Open injury, let's fly, moving along. Another envelope arrived. And this one, the initials LB, out of the blue birds, Marvin Gaye stamped envelope. 2 more birds, 1 red, 1 brown. Swirls of ink, melancholy and branches, full plumage, beyond all borders, it lands anyways. A couple days later, more birds above a nest and eggs from Leanna again, LB, born in Japan on a Japanese screen. Love, the words love and love you so much. The last card of Sandra Payne, who passed in 2021, speaking of trees, closest to the orioles nesting in city streets, finding its days with claws embracing trees, then call notes, winged denizens beneath a sand painting of a Zuni thunderbird, speaking of rainbows in a circle, and above that, and God said, I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be a sign speaking of covenants between you and I, a poem is not something to finish. Is it something that started before any of us were here? Is it something that arrives and flaps its wings recto verso as one kind of surface, again backed by trees and offering? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. We love you. Sending love. That was amazing.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. Yay. Amazing. I'm just sharing my screen again. We have this piece by Panelist Need again, available for $200. Next, we have an incredible photograph. It's from a sequence. I own one of these. One of these is in my home, by Richard Kraft. It's part of a large series. He did of photographs of the Hudson River. Here we have Untitled Hudson River Tondos. It's 8.5 by 11 inches, so kind of standard paper size, done in 2017, and it's $150. Really, really beautiful meditative series, natural series, and the way that the surface of the water looks different and says something different in each one. It's really incredible. So you'd be having a kind of piece of that. Number 10. Next up is number 11. And Rachel, do you want to show that again? Rachel is holding this piece for us. Rachel, do you want to say anything else about it? You've been living with this piece.
Well, as I said earlier when I read Tanya's description, I don't know if you can see the light that's in it, because there are 3 layers, and because of the texture of both the paint on the material, on the silk, and also the paint in the glass. It's just really, really alive, and you feel all the feelings of mountain, of silk, of movement, of feminine rage. I love it, but you should have it.
Available for $1,200. And I want to say that, James, how much are we up to right now?
We have raised $2,730 so far. Which
Let's see if we can get that to 3,000 soon, but that's so wonderful. Thank you all for being so generous. So again, we have this piece, number 11, that Rachel was just talking about. Amazing painting on glass, really beautiful. I think that's it for this section. Again, let's help us get to $3,000 by the end of this next section of readers. Thank you all for all who were concerned about my battery level in my laptop.
That was my next announcement. Wow, that's great. Yeah, so there's so many ways to donate here. There's so many tiers. So look in the chat for the information, and thank you so much for your support. Our third section are the writers Krystal, Languell, Kimberly, Alidio, James Loop, and Erica Hunt. Krystal Languell no longer works for the Poetry Foundation. Her next book is coming out from Phonograph in February. Kimberly Alidio is the author of several books, including Once, Teeth, Bones, Coral from Belladonna. Her current project is Teeter, an album and book on hearing, time, historiography, and the affective prosody of a mother tongue one does not understand. James Loop's poetry has appeared in IN Journal, Brooklyn Rail, Lambda Literary, Prelude, and elsewhere. Audio-visual iterations of his work have been presented at Material Art Fair in Mexico City, Cracks Occitanie and Set, and Freeze London. He's the author with Claire Devogue of a play entitled Appletini, or The Perils of Speech by Anonymous Botch. Terrific books, 2011. And the wonderful Erica Hunt, who is a poet, essayist, and teacher, and sometimes a word world time traveler. Please welcome Krystal Languell.
All right. Hello. Well, I'd like to make about 1 million adjustments, but I'll just do what my plan is. Thank you for including me, for introducing me, for remembering me, though I moved away and am in Chicago forever now. So thanks. I wanted to read one page out of this book, which I got for Christmas. This is Nick Cave's Stranger Than Kindness. It's a beautiful book, and it's includes lots of stuff, including some ephemera. So I'm going to read a list that Nick Cave wrote in 1978 when he was very young, and in his first band. The band's name was The Boys Next Door. Then I'll read a little bit of my own stuff, and I'll use a timer as well. All right, so he wrote this list. So this is, youth, maybe first experience collaborating with others. You could maybe see some possible reasons that this might be something I would read. Things I am not happy with within The Boys Next Door, parentheses, in no particular order. 1, mixed guitar / synth playing. 2, the synth as an instrument. 3, the choice of songs to record. 4, my visual performance. 5, 50% of our material. 6, the lack of interband communication. 7, Phil's contribution as a drummer. 8, the way the set lists are organized. 9, the ways in which we accommodate for the tastes of our audience. 10, and there's nothing written for 10. All right, so we learn through doing. And I'm going to run a short timer. I'm gonna just kind of read, if I'm really brave, at random. The randomness would be the brave part, from something I've been working on since shortly before the pandemic started. It's called Yacht Problems, or Avalanche Threat. Okay. The right tool, if you can stand for it. Frictionless transaction, assembly required. Materials now rare, living close to earth, too far to be caught, a common language. What kind of person, stoned under a throw, rowing my little boat? The wind allows me. The beach engineered, run in the crosshatch of sandplow tracks. I can't row quietly. A little hail on the leased vehicle, some plumes from the chemical plant. Freak accidental, mean art to avenge it. Stop doing drugs, jump in the lake. Nighttime flower, exit interview, show of aspersions, stunting, loose knobs rampant, thick velvet pile, amalgam holding well, tread and cement bind. I said, what's a regret? Everybody's apocalypse, superintendent deceased, blue threads in a circular rug, factory life, the bells ring in the weather. Electric violin, fecal implants, a lot of applause, pandemic slang, safe retirees in a Subaru, frat boys fly dumping, huge private hedge, hugs and lunch. A nice job. The beat was missed. I'm smiling. I can't relate. Flash, finch, flood, middle branch, river reversal, a sluice. It's the same page, it's not random. If you insist, mediated by gold, the usual suspects, flossy yarn, Operator, your estate, pass the hat. Great on the train. What's funny? A huge joke. Lasted a decade. All the men laughing. How did it end? Matchbook in the trash. Mumble about sex. Very creative. Return to my hovel. Universal remote. Floral duster. Is the river dry? The coup attempt. Bridgegate Brigade. Zero peridot. Water tower. Ya ding dong. Thanks. I'll stop there.
Hearing you read, Krystal. Thank you. Next, we have Kimberly Alito reading.
Hi, everyone. For many reasons, Belladonna really just opened up this decade in the most amazing way for me. Thank you for including me, and I'm happy to be reading with all my heroes, but especially between two people who I love and adore. I'm really grateful for. I feel like we get things done, so I miss you all. I'm gonna read 3 pieces without interruption. Today I prepare a table for what of me has died. A vial of vetiver oil sits. A writer gave it to me at a poetry conference. Put it on the soles of your feet to ground you. Vetiver doesn't get rancid. It's excellent for those who've lost touch with something. The label is very faded. The remnants of an expired calling spread across a color-coded map, arming the zone and covenant, governing the last stop rooming house. To glimpse a zoot suit and a bomb-ass flapper, then called miscegenation, just now ducking into a cab. Some board airplanes to build skyscrapers. Some sit on a stoop to dream of CCTV installed in our eyes, sees an afterlife of the street. Here, seeing is the barricade and the eviction, a permaculture of notebooks, telegrams, and laws, eating an algorithm's vomit. Seeing is already expired at the time of the accounting, a pulpy mass of sentence pieces and bits of scenery littering the page, a map filling with small black dots, static but moving as in a dream. I make a piece layering 4 cultural artifacts from 1971 to 1976, 1 social documentary, realist documentary film, 2 conceptual performances, and Lord's Cole. Text and image really get going, performing self and identity in the wake of performance once the era has ended. The summer I was born, 2 artists made durational works. In NYC and MA, Bernadette Mayer conducted an emotional science project in which every day of my birth month was spent shooting a roll of 35mm film, recording audio and writing. On the day of my birth, she wrote, "I must have no respect for nothingness to photograph these scenes with sand or snow off Monument Valley Road, the road in the valley of the same monument, the same mountain, mountain. A whole series of them, a whole series of photographs and 1 monument, and I get a whole new picture of myself. Where is your driver's license?" He said. "You are drinking beer." Memory consists of 1,100 photographs, 200 pages of text, and 6 hours of audio recording. Adrienne Piper secluded herself in her NYC apartment to make a private loft performance in which she fasted on juice and water, practiced yoga, obsessively read Critique of Pure Reason, recorded herself reciting what made her question her existence, and took nude mirror selfies with a brownie. She wrote, "Such a grinning horror that no words can capture it, and no mind is strong enough to absorb it, even for an instant, connects me to African-American women who have been rendered speechless by what they have witnessed in the course of their daily lives, but it does not restore my lost faith in words." Food for the Spirit consists of 14 photographs arranged non-chronologically into a notebook. Time, the 4th dimension of the 3-dimensional sight, shapes a gesture engaging the sight's frequencies, circularity tracing the sound arch, hollow bodies of cicada or bridge sight, swivel motions of interventionist waves along the curvy linear bodies. Lateral motion sustains perception. Perception can escape the sensorial and neural organs that activate it and move along against bounce, echo, refrain, mimic, records, and playback its sideways movements. Some of the above was written in the recess, 24 minutes in. Some of the above is written in the recess, 20 minutes in. Thanks, Viva Belladonna.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kimberly. James Loop.
Hello, hi. I'm James Loop. I'm going to start with a silly little New Year's prayer, and then I'm going to read something more melancholy. New Year, New Year, new rain for the old broken bone to ache before. Go on, old bone, say I, mend, and it, mind your business. And
So,
this,
thank you very much. I know you're going to have lots of questions.
who's that? It's not me. This is a poem that I wrote last spring called I Put This Moment Here. It's like a piece of spring skepticism. The title is lifted from Kate Bush. I'm going to read the whole thing. I put this moment here. Why call the light back to sit in its shattery errand like a corporate piece of pottery shoved into the sun? What bribe brings its darts on, even, which pierce such fancy questions from me? I put this moment here. Pain is a shared vocation, little tongue. Don't be opaque, and leaving what you can of it behind. I put this moment here. Every season breaks your heart. That's what they're there for, hearts. The heart of the forms of appearances, cracking on its heel and echoing down a bungalow bathroom mirror, old sad face of a man. Me, my man, say I, in many a future contented, in sad ones all men. I put this moment here. What study of love again gunned down around me? What tether? What slow air structured in the blood? What slow you, drunk in brown grass, wouldn't answer me? Answer me. Wouldn't cover my eyes with your answer. I put this moment here. So little to fill, to follow. Fallow is the night, not understanding. I put this moment here. I leap like a flea from grief. I put this moment here. The ending end of an endlessness, where the foam of self sifts off, is rife with bells, nevertheless. Old claims, dwindling prisms. I put this moment here. Some pains point, others sink and line the base. In aerials and dim arrays, obscure others decline gesture. Out of minor sunlight hatches power we learn in time to lose. I put this moment here. The ziggurat of knowing nothing crowns the scar of intellect. I too have told too many lies. I too am skewered by design. It's serious business, mercy, evasion, playing the baffled inlet where, in blobs of wistful sputum, this soft strife's cross days break, not one belligerent handbook to tell why the little fire for you and me could scour and skin a world entire. I put this moment here to station myself in the way of life, a common vowel privately incorporated. The lake is high and unalone, a pinprick, a pane small enough to crawl through. Oh, season of the hole's precedents, unmaking maker, carry us alongside love's rough infancies, just long enough. Thanks.
So moving, James. Thank you so much. And now for Erica Hunt.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Do you hear me? Good? Hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. James, thank you for that poem. Boy, it's beautiful. And thank you, everyone who has read this afternoon and really held my attention. Belladonna is a wonderful space just to hear the variety of voice and mood and register, tempo, wonderful. I too am a monthly donor to Belladonna, and Belladonna published a chapbook of mine. So, you know, just wonderful, this collective. I'm going to read excerpts from something I began this year. It probably does read a little bit like a pandemic text. So pardon me if you've had your full of that, but it is the mood I'm in today. I decided I wanted to talk about, I decided to write something from the point of view of Scheherazade, the storyteller. Hi. Scheherazade, the storyteller, who is making time pass, but also saving her life and saving the life of her sister. So I wanted to bring that into the present. Scheherazade was aware that a critical misstep might cost her life or her sister's life. Stories that linger over long in muffled discretion were not likely to keep the boss's attention. No, her audience would easily detect and dismiss tepid small talk, mild deflections to the boss's vanity, who was in the business of making the news all about him, daily, awash in the casual brutalities of cable news. If it bleeds, it leads. Ecosystem, multiplying blinding lines of local news. Oh, there was a formula to these stories. Headless body found in a ditch, a cellar of imprisoned girls, the synapse snapping collapse of a grieving mother spat out on a screen as she is forced to behold her child's corpse. These were the commonplaces that fed ravenous eyes, turned love into embers, reminded his subjects to behave. The subjects learned to turn natural outrage into defensive indifference, or just as bad, an unchecked cancer on conscience, picked its location on their bodies, their skin, their pancreas, their lung, their brain. It was like this now, along with the scented oils and the pedicures and the meth, freezers of ice cream and beer. In the way of the world, stories are smirks. Scheherazade was not exactly known for her love of stories. She was careful not to let her love of stories show too much, as she was also known as a good storyteller once you got to know her and she felt sufficiently comfortable with you. Then she would let her alter ego slip and her audience would find itself drawn into the world of her story, or more accurately, the audience would find itself the protagonist in the world of her story. She considers this image more deeply. Babel speaks for the first time. It's hard to know if this is the first time or follows in a sequence of repeated attempts to give first-person testimony on the results of experiment and enterprise. The people who were entombed in the base of the pedestal, they're released now, and at last they are free to speak. They speak their minds all at once. At once, they both create the white page and they populate the page with their sighs. Now that she has gathered the storytellers, one of them asked, "What is your philosophy of the story?" Such an abstract question, leading itself away from the starting point of solving her goal to tell a story that would divert her audience, suspend time. Too much scrutiny, like overstudying the black cherry in the black cherry soda. It's not real. Removing its pucker, focusing on the can instead of the drink. She took a sip as she considered pausing to feel its artificial syrup beneath the space left by the remains of fruit. Is a story like that? First, the direct experience, then the toil of collecting evidence, and then the retelling, the wounds fresh, and later the healing or scar tissue, the keloid, the callous skin tightened, tears dried now, stubborn streaks of salt washed from cheeks, chin, and now memory embered, ready to gut punch, lay in ambush, a gesture. Her mother's fingers lift and stroke her neck to find the seams to lay flat in the collar that is no longer there. The story is never still, but animate, restless under the placid surface of the past. Oh, okay. It was the end of a long quarantine, the great decoupling and recombination. All their worries had turned out not only to be true, but had taken a series of turns for the worse. But to be more accurate, events had done more than merely turn. They had slipped, many of them, into the less apparent holes in the fabric of everyday practical life. In one instance, even the calendar slipped the harness of months and days and began to lurch between long weeks and short weeks. Some weeks were days long and some days were weeks long. It was confusing. People would peek out of their screens. They viewed their family members through distant quagmires, helpless as one ant was tugged under after the other. Cousin, someone shouted, how can I live without you? You must, she said. End this, she said, before she disappeared exhausted. We are counting on you to pull us through. And this was repeated hundreds of times per day during the height, and it eroded our ability to see our faith, mind our mantras. Another member of the storytelling team said that in a good story, one sees only oneself. At first, this thought disturbed Scheherazade, the idea of endless self-regard and the idea of storytelling as a kind of compulsive mirror polishing. It turned her off. Though the more she thought about it, perhaps that was what was expected for her. That was what she was expected to do for her distinguished and self-involved audience, the boss. It was the convention, after all, to tell the boss that his image was all that mattered, containing all truth, majesty, beauty, goodness, potential, and the last and final word. Maybe that is what a story offers as you enter it, what you take when you leave it, when you think it has offered the final word. It hasn't. Thank you. Viva Belladonna.
Oh, Erica, that was incredible. I feel so lucky to be here. Thank you so much. I feel like totally bowled over by these readings. So James just DM'd me to say we've reached $3,535. Woohoo! And Rachel is saying, let's make it to 5,000. So I'm just going to share the remainder of the art. We're just running like 15 minutes behind. I do want to say that we have 3 of these signed Diane De Prima broadsides remaining at 150. So please email us if you're interested in one of them. 3 of those left. And I'm just going to quickly go through the remainder of the art. James will put the catalog back in the chat. So our next piece is by the amazing poet, performer, and visual artist Todd Colby, a great friend of Belladonna, a great poet. And this is part of the name tag series that he does. That's really great. It's a painting. It is 11 by 14, acrylic and pencil on canvas. Thanks for not getting upset when I drew on your face while you were asleep. I think I'm going to write in about this. It's really, really great. So Todd Colby, thanks for not getting upset. Done in 2018 for $200. Next, I believe this piece has sold already. Is that true, James? Okay. Okay, this piece is sold already, but we love it so much. It's by Susan B., glorious friend of Belladonna, amazing artist, Mary Shelley. We love this piece, and it has sold. So congratulations to whoever the owner is of this incredible archival print. The next, number 14, is one of our larger pieces. So if you have a place in your home or in your office that you're looking to fill that's a little bit larger, we have this great piece by Carrie Maxon. It's ink on paper. It's 22 inches by 30 inches, so very substantial. It's really incredible in person. I just saw it in the studio on Zoom the other day, and that is going for $500. So, so send us an email if you're interested in that. It's number 14. And this is our final piece, and another really large piece by the artist Mimi Gross, great friend of Belladonna. It's a watercolor. And I believe it's going for, I can't see, it's going for $500. It's a very large watercolor, 22 inches by 30 inches, done in 2019 by Mimi Gross. The Belladonna, if you want a little piece of Belladonna in your home, that's our final work on paper. So I want to get to the readings, so I'm going to stop and hand it over to Jen, unless you have something to say, James.
39.35 now.
Woohoo!
I think we could do 500, if not 5K. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We can do it. Yes. Okay. So I know we're running a little bit late, but I swear to you, these last readers are so worth it to hang on there. So we have this amazing last section of 4 readers. We have Marcella Durand, we have Lynn Hejinian, LaTasha and Nevada Diggs, and Carla Harryman. Oh my God. So bios. Marcella Duran is the 2021 recipient of the C.D. Wright Award in Poetry from the Foundation of Contemporary Arts and the author of To Husband is Too Tender, published fall 2021 by Black Square Editions. Lynn Hejinian is the author of over 25 volumes of poetry and critical prose, the most recent of which are Tribunal, Omnidon Books 2019, and Positions of the Sun, which is Belladonna 2019. The Proposition, a critical edition of Hejinian's uncollected early work, is forthcoming from the University of Edinburgh Press, spring 2022. And Allegorical Moments, Call to the Everyday, a collection of essays, which is coming out by Wesleyan in 2023. LaTasha N. Nevada Diggs is the author of Twerk, taught it many times. Her second book, Village, is forthcoming. A native New Yorker, she lives in Harlem. And Carla Harryman lives in Detroit and Ypsilanti, Michigan, and is the author of 24 books of poetry, prose, and performance writings, including the Belladonna publications Open Box 2007, The Wide Road with Lynn Hejinian 2011, which I also teach quite often. Recent and forthcoming publications include A Voice to Perform, 1 opera, 2 plays, Split Level Texts 2020, a 2-volume bilingual edition of poetry and performance writing, Sue in Berlin and Sue à Berlin, PUR or PURH 2018, the Poets Theater Dialogue play Good Morning, PAJ, a Journal of Performance and Art 2022, and Cloud Cantata, forthcoming from Panama Press. Please welcome Marcella Durand.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen, for all of your work, and Emily and James and all the Belladonnas who do so much to keep this amazing anti-capitalist thing going. Keep it going. I'm going to read from my first publication with Belladonna, published in 2005, this amazing, gorgeous book, The Anatomy of Oil, with its little oil circles, which we really talked about a lot. And I was so happy to have this come out and manifest in this form. It was such a great experience of text and publication coming together in a beautiful way. So thank you all. When sudden flooding drives the slower past crushed abyss of uncertain epoch, from the rims falls darkly staining excess. What we could find more of, better. Our lights, our oars, a mineral we found in our pockets this morning and under the sleeping bags, even as birds cried like a cathedral above. Oh, if we had an oar and needed something like that, and standing in water, air takes from us what we thought was soil. Instead, it stains and sits next to us as one state sits next to another, and topography grows flatter and drier and flatter and drier. These lines are simple, perpendicular, contradictory, extend to the sea. An extension lined with illumination, a shell-less creature with 1 foot and phosphorus. When it falls, as it does, one after the other, it lines a newly built floor, and many others come after to build a newly built floor which sags and is heated. From underneath comes heat and is compressed and forms something close to what we are looking for. We look more. What could unmoving parts say about where this uplift came from? What caused a ship to rise in desert? We pass through, we are speeding through, we are in the middle of 120 miles without services. If we run out of gas, we are in super deep shit. This animal, this beast lies across the highway and its claws leave deep ruts. Our wheels bounce and we are trapped in shimmering light and visions of trucks and more trucks as they approach the undulating city of the coastal plain. We were someplace and now we are someplace, that mega city to which we are speeding 120 miles, and animals line the highway and all is fenced. It is tottering towards E. But it is. Even colors reach through glass and cool air without water. Trapped between mountain and valley, unvented, it lifts. What we think is oxidization, the sky here feels at one with benzene and flammable clouds, noxious vapor. At lunch break, clouds ignite and spread flaming drops over school. Travels, insatiable, brilliant appetite, radioactive denizens, even as with us on this boat, fleeing or going toward. There is a place we have been before. The Copper River Valley rises up on either side, mines shrouded by eastern forests. Behind the green veil, a small city and another. There are rooms and worn down in every aspect as every aspect takes form from us, our treasure rocks and dog-eared books. If we feel at one with explosion, that is something quick and sharp and not the bobble-headed drill in the middle of flat plains and the fault and block system for miles and distance and silence. That is not the gradual wearing down and the thread poking through and the tire treads on crypto-organisms turning sand into soil. There are warnings here to stay on the trail. There is a warning not to go deeper. But here we are with tiny lanterns in a canyon prone to flooding under the bright blue lake, blue against red rocks and the power boats singing and the overpowered jetting. Such transmission we hear under the blueness, floating and yet going, a current almost indecipherable, the surface unintelligible. It grows darker as we go, and around us all is blue. The substance is not secretive, but untraceable, irreducible. It is found in its bases. There are bases, but no pyramids, no minarets embedded within missile silos. L-amino acids and DNA dislocated from one to another. Pierced by small seeping springs, it has wiry leaves, taproots, bright white, shining purple at certain hours at evening, behind the coal mining operations and over the mesas. The ships and the thousands in the sea. He is doing the bidding of his dark, oily masters, and the troops think of their children, or so say the newspapers, the article written about the woman, his wife, and what she thinks about the skin rashes, what sort of pills he eats with breakfast. The ships by the thousands mass traveling from here to there, and we in our boat, flat-bottomed, we wait for a current, a breeze. By fear is the rule of the sea. He holds his crew with a marble in the palm. think my AirPods just died, so I'm gonna finish there. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
I just got the boop, boop, boop. Thank you. Love you all.
Thank you. I love that work, Marcella. Lynn Hejinian.
Thank you. Thank you, Belladonna. It's a wonderful organization, and sitting here listening to all the readings and looking at the art, I was thinking that it's not MFA programs that make poetry, it's communities of poets and people who read poetry and love poetry. And Belladonna is the perfect model of such a community. So my heartfelt thanks to you for all that you do. And my thanks for having been able to participate in a small part of it. I'm going to read a section, not terribly long, from a long poem called Fall Creek. Okay, here goes. Actuality is a present term derived from mutual recognition. Aha, as avid in time, the time plow to hand is trebled, struck, and handed over to a brimming, drumming kid, drawing one sensation from another two, drawing another iota of understanding, running its air roots drawn by worms in a downdraft, sagging skin, over uncomprehending ears to all symposia and carrots with constant references and chance human-headed trout, and rain down the creek fitted like a woman with interstitial shadowy parts and purposeless but clawed instead of lipped regularity to lagging hive, i.e. hide, limbs, wing wandering among contending forces, not to be deemed in a circular solitude, a delivery system deemed lyric, but a blue gut sound slip booted strap slut. So deal with it. This is what there is. Hauling a coffin and drawing asses to see around and around the next bend another. So dissimilar as fizz on disbelief, roused in chains to the condemned to die, a sudden realization to waste another protest petition, pout provision, plunder, and pile of shit in the pot, or primal turd mud, or creek and fire and free fall of light, or raw psyche, which might have been first in some individual air without occupant to love, in the shoals of vexation, where crones whine and wrinkle to frogs, snoring through the night-long day, in a forest of letter senders, who storytellingly invent themselves, making mutant wants and wanton sounds, intelligible as the rule of reification, unconcerned with self-corrective systems that propel a pickup red truck ambassador, post-pungent cigarette orange, plunging at belief with almost pink primrose disdain, munching on yellow nasturtia, munching on yellow nasturtia, a serial story holds, being just what little remains, like the spark wheel of a cigarette lighter, stirring compassion in the shaggy woods, less angular, more magenta, blue of the card shark kind, one afternoon in a diving bell, or some such nonsense involving priests, parrots, pedagogues, whose beliefs, unbelievable, curtail too much, with nothing to compare to a praise aim, or perhaps per se, a blue Schwinn and basket of syncopated pebbles with roller skate key on cord. So why not? Let's go. Thank you.
So good, Lynn. Thank you so much. James, did you have a quick update before we continue?
Yes, we're at 4720,
Ooh.
which means that if we raise another $280 only, we'll be at 5,000 US dollars.
Oh my
Although
gosh.
that should not be seen as that.
That's incredible. Thank you. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Okay. Our second to last reader, wonderful poet and artist, is LaTasha N. Nevada Diggs. I know you're here, LaTasha. Where are you?
LaTasha,
Okay.
muted.
Oh, I got, well, now, okay, that's funny. Because, okay, the host stopped me.
I promise I didn't. There we go. I would never.
In a message saying the host stopped my video. I was like, okay. So, hey everybody in Belladonna land. What I was saying before I realized I was muted was that Belladonna means a lot to me, a lot more than I can say within 5 minutes. And it is a community of folks that remain very important to me, whether it's the tea parties or, you know, meeting with someone in another land, in another country, in another time zone, and getting to know her and her family, arguing with folks, being indifferent, but then at the same time agreeing, finding moments to laugh and share and support, a lot. So I'm just gonna read this poem, and while I do that, I guess we can get to the $5,000 goal and make it happen. So this is a poem that I'm currently working on for a manuscript entitled Village. Still in revision mode, but I'll just share it. Kombucha. At first, pacifierless, a thumb offers most. The heart tremors among the first beating. In Paris, I bathed with naked women, wrinkled and tart. The heavy post-war memory of fossilized sinks. Who hides in the blood beneath mosaic and enamel chipped? I'm here to love me. Cursed haunch and dimpled bottom, scrub me spoil with loafer till their arms tire. My skin a bright pink cashew, refuted by the hearts of sun. Am I the only one in this hammam cast out? Commandments and confirmations, haven't we all been soured? Honor thy father, thy mother, thy suitor, thy lover, thy wedded, themselves the foolish you with dreams. Somehow the moving van never does get booked. The belly never swells. In former lives, you were all brides. Grandmothers rub away who wronged you, while 3 wishes fossilize. Brides don't keep dirty kitchens. Toes won't relax as the Korean women file. Never have these feet been tended to. Never had anyone sought to present themselves as example. The hammam was peaceful. The mani-pedi in Oakland busy. Pearls soured rolled off my forehead, doused cheeks, clipped nails. Teach me, please, daughter. Step out the shower spoiled, ask for 10 minutes more. The needing needs to open those hearts. In natal, I shrink among those seasoned to steam, paws in pineapple tea, their heels absent of callus, shoulders oiled with almond and olive soap. They've nursed and cursed few. In a reoccurring dream, flabs of flesh hang from my mother's skull. She who cared less for her stiff neck or swollen wrists, the laboring of poor, unpolished women, never a dull moment. Faint blood and plug drifts past one vessel. What secrets am I among? Once we lived in a railroad tenement, have dreamt my mother's death among mothers down the block. The shells say to rub her hands like the working women we could never afford. Lotion the forearms that work menthol onto a sibling's chest. Who there on the other side of the curtain, as elbow pressed against shoulder blade, I cursed myself for prolonging this sore to spend on frivolous leisure, all guilt up. The water's weak, their confusion where every knot of muscle is as calloused as hills, tearing nerves cry out, only she scratched my back. She, why olive branches never soured, once thrashed against as the flesh now sags. Onto the cold pool I go. The Russians immune to steam and hot rocks is how one releases. Sauna time, so simple and never accustomed to, late blooming and late loving of studies in the rituals of blushing brides. I am the daughter of men. I am the last offspring fathered by a numbers runner, apparently among the whisperers' gated window, hurried to clear wax out the ears of women, ratchet as blue jays perched on stoops, stop and stare at this child. Who she favor, the Italian or the Puerto Rican? The Jew? They don't know his name to be Marion. Ma cursed the gossip with a pinch of snuff. Black spit sprays onto their paths. Cross, break mama's back. This here, daughter of cotton pickers in Newports. Hearts fat on liquor and crackling salt pork. Bile soaks into grout. See where I popped out a mouth. The latter contraction came late. Thought I was a cramp. What to do with sour water, soured asphalt, useless for a cradle board. Birth, oh my. What did they, women, daughters of men, swaddle me with that afternoon? What was the weather? Did she never feel it? Too numb by spirits, by daughters, wannabe brides? The encounter says I am smooth like a baby in butter, that I am a fire hydrant's valve flushed open. The sag of my relaxed tit slides into the seconds gaps between us. Where made noticeable the morning after is the trace of a body and scent earlier that day. I won't mind it. It's not for commentary, the craft of selfish indifference. What is mine, what I don't own, how dare the nerve, his mouth stench of tobacco. I caution, implore toothpaste to get the night on, his chest, silver fly paper. Is that clear enough as descriptor? Murdoch and Marvin, what a duet that would have been. An osprey overhead carries its meal. A snake in the sky shifts from marble animate to shears of Pantone 15, 40, 20. In the clouds of a daughter's dream, relaxed, spooned, selfish. Thank you.
I will wait patiently for that book to come out in the world. Amazing. Thank you so much, LaTasha. We're almost there. We're at, where are we at, James?
And well, LaTasha just got us to $5,170.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes.
I really think we're kind of old-timey telecasters at this point in the evening.
I know. And James, what's going on? Yeah, I know.
So the Diane De Prima broadsides are now gone, but if you subscribe to Belladonna, there's all sorts of things that you can get, including broadsides, etc. So please, if you're interested in a broadside, look at the subscription options.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So we have our very last reader for today, Carla Harryman, and it's always a delight to hear her read. Please welcome Carla.
I was just told I was muted, so now I'm starting over again. I was just saying I'm kind of floored at the end. And LaTasha's last lines are
really, it's just affecting my sense of sound and mood. And so anyway, that's wonderful. But I thought that what I would do is speak something of my appreciation to begin with by reading a few stanzas, quatrains from Open Box in a little sort of suite of them, which at this moment kind of just resonated for me in terms of this event, and then also this time we're in. Kindness assumed is a kind of time intelligence. Twisting music touched itself everywhere, toning down violence. Could be assumed, name a key, a density, soup could steam. Together and separately, thus already formed and not a little sketchy in parts within the ring of prior thought. Why is it some afternoons turn into Miles Davis events? Nothing stopped, but a future. Confession, migration of pronouns continued. To confess, I took it cold. Being here was stolen time. The future is in the hands of a shovel. Man and son's voices reach through the window, lengthening to treble. Chip dust with bird's call and efflorescence, chilled by cool note voids, stunned laugh of horn. He laughed first, then performed, and didn't need the background, was ours to fill, languishing talk, a dark cloud retreats to dark cloud, a tendril whose life resides at its tip. Dear friend, I am yours, was thinking you are mine without. Call it for what it is, a whisper, versions the brain across the breath, makes the you, was it the side, up, upping, 3 ways to opine within the frame of negligible fact, as I prefer the frame with to it. What could a pedant do with this? Leave the foot warmer to me there, an object or an object of love absence, represented as dank skipping caused by hiss, swelling with pride. I'd like to see more necks with strangers whose hiss around the block and hoodlum states, blank as thumbs indexing triumphs. These little parts of routines belong to ratios drummed by 6 fingers, breasting waves. All of her colors are showing. All of her colors are showing. It's 5:00 a.m., then 7:30 p.m. and again. And so I liked to end there because the feeling of all of her colors are showing is present for me. And then also this sense of time that expands and contracts and condenses in experience and in poetry. And now I'm going to skip to the same sense of location that this poem was written during the Iraq War, and but to now, to the last of the dialogue pieces in Good Morning, and it's so it's another pandemic work. Good Morning, 17 Dim Sum. I think of the music you've got on as afternoon music, and here it is morning. In the afternoon, phrases are suspended and recede, but others bask in what's receding.
and hover in the lightest of fogs, the kind that gives you a muted feeling of anticipation, so the effects are cumulative. One's hearing is quite acute at that time of day, whereas in the morning, there's a kind of brightness that comes at you while you're almost awake, but there isn't anything accumulating yet. The sky is just one massive cloud feathering out in a region whose boundaries are far away. Whiteness spread around under the sky and off-ramps gives off the mood of fading neon. At least that's the winter version. But right now there is this intoxication of having positioned the afternoon sound into the morning dank thing, with the eggs sizzling while the undercurrents of electricity hasten to their future wind turbines, testing everything we've ever imagined about how the day is supposed to go. Good morning. It sounds to me like you've been reading the Times at night before lights out. I wondered what you were up to last night, but I need to get my 7 hours in, so didn't check. The eggs are almost done, and V has showed up, but as usual, doesn't want breakfast. What is V doing? They seem to be digging. V is packing frozen dim sum in snow, as they expect to be hungry in a couple of hours, and I offered to pan fry it for them, but it won't be any good if it thaws. Oh, would you mind giving V this cup of tea? Should I wait until they have completed the burial? I feel a bit embarrassed about interrupting. It's not a ritual, just practicality. It's not very practical that V has come over to eat dim sum outside that we will be cooking for them inside in 2 hours. We can put it in the freezer. If you noticed, the freezer is full of leftovers. V is trying to purge the news you seem to have read before bedtime. So please don't start talking to them about the news when you deliver the tea. I'm feeling a bit bad for V. It sounds like they're having a rough time. I think they are just experimenting with switching from one year to the next when, as usual, there isn't yet much of a difference. We'll have to look back and see how things add up. If you do something like bury dim sum in snow and wait 2 hours for someone else to cook it for you, then you have planted a memory of the switchover. You know, I keep hearing the high notes, no matter if you or I are talking, but the rest of the music disappears in our talk. So I am less aware of what I am hearing than I was before we started thinking about V. Wait to serve the eggs, okay? Sure. V is happy to have the tea and doesn't mind if we join them with our eggs. The eggs will get cold, but the company will be nice. Then V is going to do an errand, but we could make a bonfire for when they get back. There's plenty of dim sum. So we can eat our way through the morning. You know, the music is still getting to me. It's still getting to me. I feel that it is asking me to review the distinction between signal and pulse. Okay, I guess that's the end of the readings.
What a great end. Thank you, Carla. What an amazing reading. I mean, need I say more? Like, I just feel like, wow, my head is just brimming with all of your words and imagination. Thank you so much. Please help Belladonna continue to thrive in 2022 and onward. And I just invite you all to unmute, do that crazy collage hello business if you want to. Thanks for sticking late, everyone. And thank you so much for the people behind the scenes. Rebecca, Catherine, James, Emily, everybody who, Rachel, everybody who was helping out today, readers.